There were a lot of crazy things that happened week 2 of the college football season, but one of the most shocking must be what happened to Colorado. Colorado was struggling with the Delaware Blue Hens, which are one of the newest teams in college football, and they eventually ended up taking the lead, but it wasn't because of their big-time transfer quarterback or their incoming 5-star recruit. It was not Juju Lewis, it was not Caden Salter, but instead a little-known 3-star recruit who nobody was talking about or even knew about. Ryan Staub came into the game and had 2 touchdowns, and it looks like he is now Coach Prime's new starting quarterback and will be the guy to lead the Buffaloes for the rest of the season. Or maybe just next week. But who the heck is this guy? How did Ryan Staub go from a 3-star recruit that no one knew about to now beating out 2 of the most high-profile quarterbacks in the country at one of the most high-profile schools? Today we're to talk about who this guy is, his journey to this point, and his incredible Week 2 performance. But before we get started, if you're a big fan of college football, be sure to subscribe to the channel, leave a like if you want to support today's video, and let me know what player, team, topic, or situation I can cover next. Now let's get started and talk about the insane rise of Ryan Staub. So in order to understand how Staub got to this point, we first need to go back in time. His love for the game of football was formed at an early age when he'd watch all the big college and NFL games on TV. Shortly after he began playing himself, he found he had a good arm, along with being a natural leader, and this meant he would gravitate towards the quarterback position. Like many people in this world, his role model was his dad, and he tried to mold his game after Baker Mayfield, the guy who won the 2018 Heisman Trophy while being a walk-on. That was the sort of mentality that Ryan wanted to play the game of football with, and eventually he continued to get better and better. His head coach knew about Staub since he was 11 years old, when him and his son would play on the same youth football team. Staub was originally the ball boy for the team, but eventually he became his quarterback as well. His head coach said, quote, "He's always been an intelligent and respectful kid, and he's just learned more words as he's gotten older, but he's generally been the same happy-go-lucky guy." Staub ended up starting his high school career at Chatsworth Sierra Canyon High School before eventually coming back home as a sophomore. He said, quote, "At the time it seemed like the right fit, and I learned a lot of amazing things at Sierra Canyon, but everything happens for a reason and it's part of my journey." Home meant West Ranch High School, and he had a quarterback lineage to live up to. Staub said, quote, "At West Ranch we had 3 consecutive D1 quarterbacks in a row, starting with Weston Eget, who went to New Mexico State, and then his brother went to San Jose State, and then later on they'd end up having Jackson Presley, who at one point was a big-time recruit, but I think he moved to Montana. As I said, at first he was at Sierra Canyon, and head coach Chris Varner got a pleasant surprise during a random 2020 spring practice, and it changed everything. Ryan Staub had shown up and decided to come back home, and he would make his mark as a Wildcat. He said, quote, "I guess at the time, it was just the best fit for me, and things happened and I came back to my hometown school, and it was the best decision I ever made, and I never looked back." He eventually became the team's starting quarterback and threw for more than 5,000 yards in his junior and senior seasons combined, and he earned the Foothill League Offensive Player of the Year as a junior after throwing for 2,400 yards and 21 touchdowns. Because of this, there were multiple Division I programs interested in him, and Coach Varner said, quote, "He was in high demand. He had what I want to say are 25 schools coming after him, and he was obviously a big interest, and it was very exciting." Fresno State, Vanderbilt, Nevada, and Arizona were amongst the schools that offered him, but there was one school that he really liked. After throwing for 3,000 yards and 37 touchdowns as a senior, he would commit to Colorado before it all happened. He said he didn't feel like every game was such a big deal to prove himself now, but then he would have to do it all over again. While Ryan Staub was becoming a bigger name, the Colorado program's stock was dropping fast. The Buffs went 1-11 in 2022, winning their one game in overtime against Cal 20-13. Carl Durrell was fired as the head coach, and now he had a decision to make. Would he reopen his recruitment, or would he wait around to see who the next coach was? It would take over 2 months for the Buffs to name a new head man, and they definitely made a splashy hire, announcing Deion Sanders to be the next head coach. It sounded great for some, but for others it wasn't. Deion came in and wanted a lot of the guys to enter the portal, but luckily, he decided he wanted Ryan Staub on the team, and on December 12th, he officially reaffirmed his commitment to Colorado. Staub said, quote, "Being in the Pac-12 and being a dream school of mine, those are some of the reasons for choosing Colorado, and then having tons of talent and tons of recruits coming here, it makes it even more appealing." He knew that he was one of the top dogs in high school, but going to college meant he'd have to work his way up the ranks. He said he was looking forward to competition, and boy, he would have to deal with a lot of competition at Colorado. According to 24/7 Sports analyst Greg Biggins, he said that Staub had one of the strongest arms in the country and had a nice clean delivery and looked comfortable throwing outside the pocket. Because of this, Staub was a 3-star recruit, the number 36 quarterback, and the 733rd best player in the class of 2023. After a crazy few years and a wild recruitment, he would now be headed to Boulder. How would he do when he got there? Well, let's go ahead and take a look. It's safe to say when Ryan Staub arrived in Boulder, Colorado, people were more focused on Shedeur Sanders than they were Ryan. I mean, for good reason. There was not a good reason why you should even be following Ryan at the time, but as a backup quarterback in both 2023 and 2024, Staub would get on the field a little bit. In 2023, when there was an injury to Shedeur Sanders, Staub would step in. Against the Utah Utes, he'd end up going 17 of 24 for 195 yards and a touchdown. Sadly, the Buffs would end up losing by 6 points, but Staub ended up getting a start under his belt as a true freshman. This was a pretty big deal. Going into the 2024 season, Shedeur Sanders was once again back, and he was definitely not going to see the field. As a backup quarterback in 2024, Staub would go 0 of 4. He did not complete a pass for a single yard. At this point, you'd probably think that he would end up transferring, but that is not what would end up happening. They brought in Kaidon Salter, one of the top transfer quarterbacks in the country from Liberty, and they also signed Julian Lewis, who at one point was a 5-star recruit, but due to him reclassifying, ended up as a 4. Everybody had been talking about these guys, including myself on the channel, and no one cared about Ryan, but he'd end up staying. This past offseason, he battled it out and was named the 3rd-string quarterback. But after a Week 1 game against Georgia Tech, the quarterback situation was not figured out. Salter wasn't as good as advertised, and Julian Lewis probably wasn't ready yet. I mean, he's only 17 years old. This past Friday, he was told by the coaching staff that he would get a chance to play. Their offensive coordinator said, quote, "He found out a day ago he was going to get in the game, so he came in and told me that he liked this and that, and he thinks like a quarterback. He could have transferred away after not getting any playing time his first 2 years, but he stayed because he fell in love with the process at Colorado, and he had a dream. He kept working, and he even showed his replacements around. When Coach Prime was dealing with all his stuff going on behind the scenes, he was one of the guys who helped Kaidon and Julian around campus and helped show them the ropes. This has the makings of a really good story, and it all came to fruition this past Saturday. Kaidon Salter would end up getting the start, but in the second quarter, they decided to insert Juju Lewis. After neither of those two could really get going, Sanders put in his number 3 quarterback, Ryan Staub. He ended up stealing the show and led the team to 3 touchdowns in 4 possessions in a 31-7 win at Folsom Field. After the game was over, Coach Sanders said, quote, "I know exactly how I'm going to handle the quarterback situation. I'm not going to say it, but yeah, I'm not lost for direction." Honestly, this is one of the craziest storylines from Week 2 of college football, as never in a million years would I have expected Ryan Staub to play. I remember when I was coming up with my videos for the offseason, I was literally thinking about doing a quarterback spotlight on the Colorado Buffaloes, but I thought Ryan Staub was so irrelevant that it just wasn't worth the time. That video never ended up being published on the channel, but now he's making me look silly as well. Could the answer to replace Shedeur Sanders have been in the quarterback room all along? Well, it's looking like that could happen right now. Staub ended up going 7 of 10 for 157 yards and 2 touchdowns, and had a passer rating of 267.9. Staub said, quote, "It's crazy to be rewarded this way. It doesn't really feel real, but I'm also looking forward to next week, and we need to get back to work." In terms of what he thought of Staub's performance, Sanders said, quote, "I saw what I've been seeing in practice the last few years. This is who he is and who he's always been. He's a man of opportunity, and that's all he is." Yeah, as I was looking through Twitter today, it looks like Staub was taking the reps for the first team of offense, but we will see what happens. Colorado is now entering Big 12 play, and they're going to play against Houston, who I think will be in the bottom half of the conference. So Staub, I think, should have an opportunity to start once again, and we will see if he can put together another complete game. Obviously, this is an incredible story so far, but his leash is going to be short. They probably paid Kaidon Salter a lot of money, Juju Lewis is going to want to get on the field, and Coach Prime wants to win football games. He already showed he'll put whoever he wants to on the field in order to try to get a win, and that resulted in one of the craziest moments of Week 2. But what do you guys think? If you're a Colorado fan, do you think Staub should be the starting quarterback moving forward? What do you think of his story, and which topic should I cover next? Be sure to let me know down below. Leave a like if you want to support today's video, subscribe if you're new, and check out the videos on the end screen. Hope to see you guys again soon, but until next time, peace.